Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network once again. As per usual, I'm ScottyD, and this evening we have got the Uprising Adelaide 2025 tournament preview stream for you guys. We've got Jake joining me from the HWN team. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries at all, brother. And we've also got Adam, the head TO for Uprising Adelaide, joining us as well. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Busy as always.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely in the lead up the week of. It's always a hectic one. So yeah, this evening we are going to be chatting all things Uprising Adelaide, if my overlays will work. There we go. And, you know, if you guys can't catch the entire stream this evening, don't fret. It's going to be posted up on our YouTube channel coming up this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time for you guys. Also, just want to thank Jim Tack and Beal for the subs in chat as well. Welcome to everyone who is joining us live. It's great to have you all joining us as well. So let's kick straight on into it, gentlemen. Adam, why don't you give us a little bit... Oh, and more gifted subs. You guys are nuts, chat. Adam, kick us off with a bit of an introduction about yourself. You know, how long you've been in the hobby, what armies you play, and, you know, what the scene's like in Adelaide.
So yeah, I've been playing the game for the 20 odd years now, playing competitive fairly for the last 15 or so years. We started Uprising 5 years ago, so this is year number 5. We started right in the midst of COVID 2020. And the scene over here in Adelaide, we've got a really strong scene. This is our third GT of the year. We also have Terracon over in SA. It's a little bit outside of Adelaide, more like a hybrid Vic and SA event, but that's also over 100 people. So we're blessed to have two of the largest events in the country right now are in backyard. So
yeah, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, it's and they're split 6 months either side of the year as well, roughly.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect. It splits it down the middle. We got one in winter, one in summer. So
yeah, which is great. So I'll pass to Jake for the next question, mate.
Yeah, definitely. So, Adam, tell us about the motivation behind running the tournament and the history and the core values of Uprising.
Look, we just wanted to put on a quality event. So we wanted to put on something that wasn't being done elsewhere in the country. We felt that what was on offer at the time, which a lot of the time, 5 years ago, a lot of the events were borrowed terrain. A lot of the events were held in non-air conditioned premises and things like that. And we just felt that we needed to up the level of the tournament scene. So we took it and we ran with it, and we provide what we consider to be a premier event. You get table service, you've got mats, you've got terrain on every table, you've got acrylic bases everywhere. So we're just trying to provide and adequate space to walk around a table. You're not 8 tables to a bank like some other large events that take place in January. So yeah, just provide a good gaming experience and something that we would want to have attended ourselves rather than some of the events that were on offer at the time. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
no, it's always good. The table space is key.
yeah, we've generally got 1.5 meters on each side of every table, so plenty of space to walk around and move. So
yeah, definitely having been there last year, I can attest that space is so good. It is worth it, genuinely. And, you know, having been to a lot of events pre-COVID that, you know, we're using borrowed terrain, running some myself, I can tell you, even from a TO standpoint, absolute headache getting all of that stuff organized and consolidated, make sure all the tables were relatively even in terms of their terrain distribution and such as well. So it was a lot of work. So hats off to you guys for making, you know, not rising, but raising the standard for what tournaments should be having as their standard for terrain and mats and all that kind of stuff. So
I think it's made a big difference around the entire community. Like, you don't see nearly as many of those events that are put on. And don't get me wrong, when you're starting up, you do what you have to do. But when you're looking at a big event, You don't see many of those big events around the country anymore that are posting up for like, hey, can you bring a table of terrain on the last day and whatnot. So it's good to see that the standard for what we consider to be acceptable has lifted. So
yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. So let's dive a little bit into some of the meat and potatoes with looking at the players pack. And of course, it's going to switch sources on me because I've got a different window open. Of course, OBS likes to do things, chat, and it likes to do dumb things. So let me get this swapped over real quick. It should be that one. There we go. So we'll talk about the players pack for a second here. We'll also talk about terrain and missions in a bit as well, just for everyone's benefit. So 3-day tournament over the Australia Day long weekend, Saturday to Monday. Which is really solid. It's at the Turramurra Recreation Centre. You know, it is a wonderful venue. Having been there last year, it's air conditioned. You guys have put a lot of work in terms of making sure that, you know, as you said, table service, all that fun stuff. I believe also you've got the QR code where you can call a judge as well.
No, we toyed with the idea of that, but it just turned out to be a complication because you then had to process an order, and even though it was $0, it made you process the order, so it was just not as effective as we had hoped. So
fair enough, no worries, all good. But yeah, in a really good spot in Adelaide, which is great. If we have a look at the schedule, also the players pack is up on screen for everyone's benefit as well. So the schedule for Saturday, you guys have gone with 3-hour rounds, but an additional 10 minutes during round 1 just to help with battle ready painting checking. So do you want to just talk a bit about that and how your stance is different from last year?
Yeah, so last year we did have a little bit more leniency on Battle Ready, purely because we had a new mission pack and whatnot come out just before the event. So last year was probably one of the more lenient years we went on Battle Ready. This year, going in, we have been pretty heavy-handed. People have been sending in things and we've been picking stuff up, and with conversions and what we're now, you know, a fair way into this edition where all war gear is free. If you want free war gear and you want that optimal loadout, you better have it on your models. So we have been very clear that, you know, if you don't have the optimal loadout, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure that that's what your list reflects. We've had people sending in, I've got my mega knobs, I've got 4 different types of weapons on them. I'm like, well, your list better reflect 4 different types of weapons, or you better rip those arms off. So they're your options. So
yeah, it definitely helps for clarity for your opponent as well, because then you're not looking at one unit and going, actually, is that what they're equipped with? Or is it, you know, it actually is like, no, what they're equipped with is what they've got. So it's, you know, definitely, you know, again, raises that standard that you should be expecting at tournaments nowadays as well, particularly halfway through an edition.
Then, yeah, takes the argument out of it too, right? Like,
yeah, exactly right.
That's what they got. That's what's happening. Okay, cool.
As usual, we'll have our typical painting station set up so that those people that do get hit for battle ready in round 1, they'll be more than welcome to fix up whatever they need to do between round 1 and round 2 as well. So we normally have a couple of people who take us up on that option every year. So as we're walking around and we ping everyone. So we walk up to the table, one of the TOs will pause the clock, or if they're playing on a clock for 10 minutes, we'll do the quick battle ready check, unpause the clock and walk away. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah, too easy. Then 45 minutes for lunch on all 3 days, which is a relatively good time. I know last year you guys had organized the food truck. Is that the same thing again this year?
Yep, so we've got 2 food trucks back this year. So this is our 3rd year with the food trucks. So 2 food trucks back this year, and then we've also got the pub just across the road is aware that the event is on, so people will be welcome to wander across and get lunch and whatnot over there. They're going to be extra staffed up for the weekend. So
yeah, awesome. And then
good.
Another thing that I love as well is the 15-minute break between rounds 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. That is, yeah.
Yep, I got sick of chasing people around during the 5 minutes I had between rounds going, I need your scores, I need your scores, I need your scores. So 15 minutes gives me plenty of time to walk around and give double zeros when they don't put their scores in. So
yeah, Yeah, it's
Excellent.
also good as for players as well. It gives them a chance to go to the bathroom, grab a drink, chill out for
Pack their armies up, yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? Like,
yeah. It's a good little nice to have as well. Which is great. Day 1 finishes at 6:40 in the evening. Day 2 finishes at 6:30, and then Monday finishes around kind of 4:15 after all the prizes and everything. Which is a pretty solid weekend. Of 40k.
Yeah.
I also like that it's not super late either. I know a lot of events, depending on venues, are starting to push like 7:30, 8 o'clock finishes, depending on the event. So to see an event that's finishing prior to 7 is really good.
Yeah, look, I mean, it does lead to a slightly earlier start, but let's be real. By day 2, you're waking up at 5 a.m. thinking about the opponent you've got to play in the next round anyway. So, well, that's just me anyway.
Yeah, or you're me and you're
And then
waking
you
up
got a
at
few
6.
stragglers that are getting home at 5 a.m. No.
Yeah, well, if they haven't gone to bed at that point, it's not going to help either way. So.
No.
Yeah. Or it's me up at 6 trying to figure out, oh gosh, who am I putting on stream round 4?
Yeah,
that as well. But yeah, so that's basically the schedule, which is I love it. Now round 6, 7, and 8. Once again, the top 8 cut returns, which is awesome.
Yeah, so looking forward to just cutting it there for them. Gives everyone the openness of knowing that if they're not in that top 8, they're no longer playing for sheep stations, and then gives that top 8 the clarity that, hey, look, even if this goes really poorly, it's not going to go that bad. So depending on our final rolling dice numbers, that may be 2 rounds, it may be 3 rounds. It just depends on what our final number is. We'll adjust it as we need to there. So
yeah, perfect. And then for stream coverage, for everyone's notice, once we hit that top cut, we are just covering the top cut, which I'm super pumped to be able to do once again. I know it was great covering the top cut last year for the 3 rounds, and so I'm really excited to be able to do that once again this year. In terms of FAQs and rules questions kind of stuff, what has been your process in terms of like handling? Because I know GW has done a lot of they did a balance update stealthily on the 15th with some FAQ stuff. How have you guys kind of approached that? And are you using any external FAQs? Are you making your own rules calls? You kind of just sticking with what GW have got? What are you guys decided?
Look, to be honest, we've tried to align as best we can with GW. Like, we don't want to actively change any rules. So there are certain things that I don't like in the game, but I'm not just going to outwardly change them. So one thing that had come up was, are we using the WTC rule for charging through ruins where you can fight through 2 inches? And as much as I don't like the idea of someone standing 1.1 inch away from a wall and being unchargeable, I also don't like making up rules. So it's like a dichotomy of which one do we choose, which is the lesser evil. So we did end up going with the fact that, if you do stand 1.1 inch behind the wall, you can kind of be unchargeable. So we tried to stick as much to GW's actual letter of law as possible. Where feasible. So there are certain things that we've had to go to the WTC FAQ to answer, and I'm sure there'll be a few more things that pop up that are squirrely and we don't know. But the reality of it is that we've tried to stick to what GW have given us, because that's the game we play. So
yeah. 100%. Definitely understand. Having been in a boat where I'm not wanting to pull from WTC and trying to create something to, work with the 2-inch rule, it's a nightmare. So definitely can respect the stance of just going, I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm just going to go with GW here.
Yeah. It's a bit difficult. There was one that came up, which was a bit of a tricky one. I can't remember what data sheet it was on, but it was like, in the charge phase, your unit gets lethal hits or something along those lines. And it was like, well, in the charge phase, that's useless. So it was a clear, a case of GW have just written this weirdly. And I think it might have been on one of the newer data sheets as well. So it was just something that they may not have picked up as yet. So we had to make a call on that kind of thing. But for the most part, over the last 4 to 5 years, I think GW has done a really fantastic job of keeping on top of it and answering most of the rules questions. Like I remember back when, pre-COVID, we would have each event would have its own 5-page FAQ document. Now, not so much. You can kind of rely on the FAQ that already exists out there, or you can really just make a rules call and figure it out yourself because it's not that difficult to do. So having access to things like the GW, not the rules writers specifically, but the events team and things like that makes it a bit easier to get answers to those kind of questions as well. They're not always going to be there to answer it in 5 seconds, but if you've got a bit of time and lead in, you can certainly get the answer that you need. So,
yeah, 100%. Even the ITC tournament organizers group on Facebook as well is a great resource for that too.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into talking about some prize support now, and the major prize. So I believe this is the person who comes first, the Big Bickies. It gets return flights to the Warhammer World Championships for this year. To the value of 2,500 Australian dollars. So
correct. So
golden ticket.
Yeah, golden ticket, and the return flights that should cover most of your flight. If you're going, it just depends. If you're happy to have a layover somewhere, it'll cover your whole flight. If you want to go and be a bit more fancy and just fly direct, then you're out of pocket a little bit, but covers most of what you need, and you can get there and back on that money. So
yeah. And then, you got best presented, best in faction prizes, best team as well. So how are you guys going to handle the best team? Is it going to be, because I know you've put up on the Facebook pages, like if there's teams of 8 or more players like to submit some stuff to you guys, how are you guys determining best team?
So, team, we're not necessarily doing best team. What we're doing is we've done individualized team swag. So the teams that have 8 or more players attending, we've had a flag banner made for each of them based on their own they provided the digital imagery. So each team will be provided with that. That'll be hanging on the wall during the event. However they decide to use that is up to them. Obviously, it can go to the highest ranked player in the team. It could go to the person who has the best event overall increase or whatever they want to do. Completely up to them. We've just provided them with that piece of swag, basically, because we appreciate the fact that teams, especially over here in SA, teams is a really big thing. So we like to support it, and these banners we'll own it. We stole the idea. They hang up in one of the game stores. They did it first, and we've just expanded it to do it for more and more. So hopefully next year we can do the same thing. And I think we've got about 7 or 8 teams with 8 or more players, which is a really good turnout. But hopefully next year we can get even more up on the wall and make it a really big event. Every time I think of the flags hanging on the wall, I go back to the Mighty Ducks where they've got the banners hanging on the wall and it flaps down at the last minute and it's a duck instead of a whatever it's supposed to be. And that's what it triggers in my memory. So
yeah, nice. I actually saw very similar with one of, I think it was Champions Cup over in the US when they were doing the teams, and they had banners up for each of the teams, and as the teams got knocked out of contention, they'd pull the teams' banners down.
Sick. I think Queensland do a similar thing. I think I've seen something about some Queensland team events having some banners and stuff like that. So it's certainly not an original idea, but we just wanted to make sure there was something there for those teams that are supporting us. So
yeah, for sure. Massive door prize as well, and a heap of other prizes you guys are handing out, which is awesome. It's great to see so many prizes on offer that you guys are planning, even though most of them haven't been announced. I'm keen to hear about them, but best in faction, when we get into talking about factions, there's 20 odd factions just there, right? So
yeah, I think between swag, prizes, the flight, and trophies and stuff, we spent nearly 15 grand this year. So it's a fair whack. So
yeah, for sure, definitely. Now getting to terrain. You guys, obviously, for those who mightn't have been at Uprising previously or caught any coverage from last year, you guys have actually got your own terrain set and your own terrain style. And so how are you guys because you mentioned you're doing it on GW layouts, how are you kind of marrying the two together?
Yeah, look, our terrain doesn't match the GW layouts perfectly. So what we attempt to do is have the acrylic bases in the correct positions, and then a piece of terrain that represents it adequately in that location. So It's not perfect, and our acrylic, in a lot of cases, because our acrylic is made to match our terrain, where GW might have a 12x6, we might have an 11x7, or where GW have a 10x5, ours might be a 9x6 or something like that, just because it needs to match the terrain that exists. But for the most part, if you look at a GW terrain layout and then you look at the table that we have, you'll be able to tell which terrain layout it is. We've gone to the extra effort this year because we know that we had some previous issues with the 2.5-inch stuff, the stuff that's meant to be on the little 6x4s. So we've gone to the added effort this year. We've added 280 new walls that are all compliant with that sizing. So they'll be in full effect. There will be a few tables that don't have that. As 280 was what we figured we could actually get through in a reasonable amount of time. So we're doing our best to get fully compliant. But in place of those, where that's not, there'll be something that's there that serves a similar role. So
yeah, cool. And then, very similar to last year across the tournament, you've got 4 of the Prior Nexus layouts that we'll get to in a little bit. Just got a few other bits and pieces from the Players Pack. Lists were due on the weekend, Saturday night, having gone through, and last night when lists were live, I went through and I think about an hour, got all the meta done, and that was, got that all sorted straight off the rip, and 183 players, which is huge. There are a few folks out there who got their factions not 100% or not in there at all. So, guys, make sure to get your factions in properly, please. It helps. It really does.
You shouldn't be able to put in a list without the faction on it. And I imagine we're probably not too far away from a world where AI just reads it and tells you what it is. So,
yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, outside of that, that's basically it for the Players Pack. So we'll jump over to talking about the missions and the terrain layouts and such. So
I just wanted to clarify one thing I said earlier, just to make sure there's no confusion. So just with the Players Pack, with regards to rounds 4, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, whatever it may be, depending on the number of players, the way we do it is we will top cut it to top 8 so that they only play each other if we're doing a top 8 based on the number of players. But if you lose in that bracket, you drop out. So you're not guaranteed to finish 8th if you're in that top 8 bracket. The only people who are guaranteed is 1 and 2. So if you make it to that final game, you are 1 and 2. But if you drop out in the first of those 3 rounds, that maybe if it's a bracket of 8, you will go back into the pool and you will have to fight to finish 3rd, just like everybody else will have to. So
yeah, cool. So doing a bit different to LVO, for example, that happened this weekend just gone.
Correct. Yeah, we like to have it so that we want those people playing each other towards the end, but at the same time, we want to make sure that 1 and 2 are locked, so that they're the important ones. So we don't want the person on the top table losing in the last round and then dropping down to 10th or 12th or whatever it may be. So they are locked per the Players Pack. So.
Yeah, 100%. Have definitely done similar recently with an event I ran. So definitely know what you're talking about there, which is awesome. So we'll go through the missions and then we'll talk about the layouts, because in the GW Prior Nexus pack, they do missions and then terrain layouts. So you've just stuck with GW missions, which is, pretty straightforward and pretty easy. The one thing I picked up straight away, there's only 3 deployments again.
Yeah, so look, the reality of it is changing over 100 tables for different deployments and things like that. It's just not really feasible, even between days. We did try and do it 2 years ago, and we ended up being about half an hour behind before the day even started. So it's really just not possible. It takes us the better part of an entire day just to lay out all that terrain and make sure it is set. So unfortunately, that does mean that only a couple of deployments are viable with those terrains. But the reality of it is that does mean that everyone gets the best terrain experience. You're not going to hit Dawn of War and have angled pieces of ruins that don't cover you, and then someone go first with the guns and just blow you off the table. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Mm-hmm. It does limit what you do a little bit, but I would rather have limited missions than someone getting blown off the table turn 1 because they caught a bad gun line on Dawn of War and wrong terrain. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I wouldn't even say that they're limited missions. It's limited deployments. but all the missions, I don't think, outside of 2 of probably the most stable primary missions in the game, you repeat out of all of them.
Yeah.
And then all of the mission rules, I believe, outside of 1 are single. So it's still a really good diversity across the mission pack.
Yeah, look, luckily GW does provide you with quite a bit of options, which is quite good. And we did our best to make sure that we provided variety, and if we did have to double up, they weren't right next to each other, so that you weren't copying the same one twice in a row, etc. So
yeah, or even twice in the one day, for example, as well, is something I picked up on as well, which is good. I like that consideration. So we'll just briefly touch on each of the missions. We won't spend kind of too much time on these. But round 1 is Mission O, which is Crucible of Battle. So it's your angled hammer and anvil. With Stalwarts, which I believe is... Oh, this is going to test my memory. It is shoot in action and fight in action. And then on Terraform. So basically 4 points for sitting on an objective. If you terraform it, you get 2 points per turn for the rest of the game during your command phases. So, but a lot of players don't necessarily like this mission, but I think it's a good one to put up first, get it out of the way nice and early.
yeah, look, with regards to the missions, I still, it's terrible, but still this far into it, I still haven't really learned the lingo. Like every time a mission pack for an event gets posted, I have to go to the guys and be like, can someone break this down for me, please, into something I understand? And they're like, yeah, stand on objectives, get points, banners, kill more, hold more. I'm like, yeah, things I actually understand. I still can't get my head around this mission J and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, yeah, glazes over, to be honest. So
yeah, 100% understand.
I'm exactly the same. It's shocking.
It's terrible. I can remember Mephiston's stats from 5th edition, but I cannot remember the order of these missions. So
yeah.
Edition bleed is a thing.
Yeah. But I mean, with picking the G Dub ones, it does make it a lot easier with the ITC battles up as well for you to just select and roll through with your things. I do like it when I understand some TOs like to pick their own and be a bit more spicy, but I think this way it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, having the app there, especially with so many people missing out on cards initially, I think that it's pretty important to have easy access to the app to do it. So
yeah, especially now that they've had the option with the I never seen it until a few weeks ago, but with being able to press the play button and it explain the entire mission out for you.
Yeah, which is good. So round 2 is Mission B, which is Tipping Point. So it's your staggered hammer and anvil. Smoke and Mirrors, which from memory is the one where you can put a unit into strategic reserves, and then Purge the Foe, which is classic, I think 8th edition 40k, which is kill 1, kill more, hold 1, hold more, basically.
Yeah.
Mission 3 is, round 3, I should say, is Mission J, which is Search and Destroy, so your table quarters, with Raised Banners, so do an action with battle line on an objective, get a point for it.
Don't even need to do an action, just stand there.
Yeah. And then Linchpin, probably the one of the most stable scoring missions. Hold 3 points for your home. If you're holding your home, your center and opponent's deployment zone are worth 5 to a max of 15. If you're not, they're worth 3.
Yeah.
Then we
nice and easy for third game of the first day, which is what everybody wants.
Yes. Yep, definitely. Then you come into round 4, which is day 1. Round 4, day 2, I should say. Mission N is Crucible Battle, Swift Action, so advanced fallback and action. And the Ritual. So I think this is a really solid combo for Ritual because it means that you can get actually into the midfield without being a particularly fast unit and still do the Ritual action to deploy those objectives. Round 5, you got Mission L, which is Search and Destroy Hidden Supplies, so an additional objective with Take and Hold. So just hold 1, hold 2, hold 3 for 5 points apiece. Then round 6 to finish off day 2 is Mission C, which is Tipping Point with Fog of War and Linchpin. So Fog of War from memory is no core stratagems during battle round 1 and benefit of cover across the army, and then Linchpin again, end the day with that one. Then round 7, so round 1 on day 3, is Crucible Battle with Inspired Leadership, which is this mission pack's version of Chilling Reign, basically, but it does come up in some matchups.
Very rarely.
If you're playing Tyranids...
Is that the +1 to your leadership? Yeah,
yes.
which is
if
like
your
great
warlord's
against...
outside your deployment zone or something, it's...
I think it's if you're within 9 inches of your warlord. Which is great against Chaos Knights and probably Tyranids as well. Yeah. It can come up.
Yeah, for sure. And then Scorched Earth. So basically holding objectives for a max 10 points per battle round. And then you burn 1 in No Man's Land or 2 in No Man's Land for 5 points each. And then 10 if you burn your opponent's deployment zone. And then round 8, the championship round, or the final round of the tournament, is Mission A, which is Tipping Point, Raise Banners, and Take and Hold. Really straightforward, which is nice.
By that time, everyone's brain's pretty fried, so let's just make it simple, right?
Yeah, 100%. I like how, Take and Hold and Linchpin are the ones that are repeated, which is perfect, and Raise Banners is repeated. So really, the simplest ones are the ones that are repeated. So really, great to see. Then when we come to the layouts, the 4 layouts that you guys have selected is layout number 1, which we've got on screen for everyone at home. So layout number 1, so you've got those kind of L's, those arrowheads in the middle of the table, and you've got a nice big L shape on the bottom left and top right, with a smaller piece of terrain in the top left and bottom right for you guys. And there's no fire lanes going deployment zone to deployment zone on the long table edge, which I always like not having that, because, having terrain set 4 inches back and just having this massive 60-inch line down the side means that it's a little hard to navigate if you're playing heavy shooting armies. Then we come to layout number 2, which does have those long table edge lines, but that's okay because there's a decent amount of cover in the center. So you've got 2 angled in No Man's Land, and then kind of bit more like your 90 degrees and parallel to the table edges pieces of terrain in your top left and bottom right, as well as your top right, bottom left, and in the middle of each long table edge, there's a decent amount of terrain there as well. Then got layout number 4, which is a little bit more open than layout number 2 in the middle. So a little bit more angled in your top right and bottom left, with the top left and bottom right being parallel to the table edges there. You've still got those fire lanes there as well, but, not a bad thing depending on the deployment. And then the last one is layout number 6, which has got the 2 6x4 pieces of terrain in No Man's Land with 2 of the smaller ruins on an angle. Then you've got 2 pieces in the top right and bottom left, as well as, those 1 more 6x4 and a medium-sized ruin in your top left and bottom right as well in No Man's Land there, depending on your deployment, or it could be in your deployment if you're playing Tipping Point, for example. So I would say that these are probably the best 4 deployments out of the mission pack, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that they're the best 4, but they're the most suitable 4 for what we needed. So, I would argue that a couple of the other ones are in a vacuum better, but just not repeatable is the issue. So, being unrepeatable makes you much less attractive as a deployment layout. So,
yeah, 100%. Particularly, take for example deployment 7. It's just straight lines across the table. It's just like, it's, so I definitely get it. Having it a lot more open, larger models being able to move through and stuff as well is definitely a consideration there. So I definitely like each of the deployments, and of course it means that you guys are able to set them up once and be done. And so whatever table you're on, that's the layout you're playing on, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So it'll be a pretty even spread across the hall. Towards the like when we start to run out of stuff, there'll be a couple of tables that go because they're not going to be feasible for what we've got. But we did all the hard leg work last year, getting all the terrain into boxes, and most of it hasn't come out of a box since. And if it has, it's gone back into the same box. So it should be pretty or much even across the board as far as what the table layouts go. We've also got a couple less tables this year, so we will have a bit of spare terrain to fix up some holes where we need them. So,
Yeah, awesome. So that kind of covers us for all of the like tournament format, missions, all that fun stuff. So, Jake, let's kick into the meta, brother.
Yeah, how exciting. And apologise for calling from the dungeon tonight, like I said before. Anyway, let's jump into that. What are we going to look at here? So we're going to first thing is the number of players in attendance, which you touched on before. We got 183 players, and the meta present. So we'll jump straight into the meta breakdown. So for Space Marines, we've got 37 players at 20.2%, which is made up of 13 Ultramarines, 7 Dark Angels, 5 Blood Angels, 4 Death Watch, 3 Space Wolves, 2 Black Templars, 2 Raven Guard, and 1 Adeptus Astartes. For Imperium, we've got 48 players, which makes up 26.2%. You got 12 Adeptus Custodes, 11 Ashmilitarum, 7 Adeptus Mechanicus, 6 Grey Knights, 6 Imperial Knights, 4 Sisters, and 2 Imperial Agents. And by the way, shout out to Scotty for doing all these numbers too. Well done, mate.
yeah, thank you very much, man.
That's all good.
Makes it very easy. Chaos, we've got 41 players, making up 22.4%. So we got 11 Demons players, 8 Death Guard, 7 CSM, 7 World Eaters, 5 Chaos Knights, and 3 Thousand Suns. So pretty good spread of chaos there, really.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Over to Eldari, we have 8 players making up 4.3%, with 6 being Eldari and 2 Drukhari. For Hive Mind, we've got 14 players making up 7.7%, which is 9 Tyranids and 5 Gene Stealer Cults. And for Xenos, 35 players, 19.1%, 12 Orcs, 10 Necron players, 7 Votan, and 6 Tau. Pretty good spread, really. If we move over to Faction Podium, not surprising, the number one faction is Ultramarines, being 13 players at 7.1% of players. I'd like to see how many of them are actually blue, though.
I'm going to guess less than 4.
Yeah.
I would say that's a
I'm
safe
with you on
bet.
that one. Custodes and Orcs taking up second place in 12 players, making up 13.1% of players. And in third is the Imperial Guard, Ashmilitarum, and Chaos Demons with 11 players, making up 12% of players. So Faction Podium makes up 59 players, 32% of the meta.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
I
Breaking it down. Yeah, sorry, Scotty.
No, I was just going to say, if you're going to chat breakdown super faction by super faction, and we can discuss it for a second.
Yeah.
So
to break it down even further. Yep, with the detachments. So Space Marines and Imperium. We've got Ultramarines, which we've got 8 Vanguard, 4 Gladius, and 1 Ironstorm. Dark Angels, we have 4 Gladius, 2 Stormlance, and 1 of the Librarius Conclave, which I believe is the new Grotmus detachment.
Yeah, that's correct.
Very interesting. Blood Angels, we've got 4 on Liberator and 1 on the Angelic Inheritors. which is exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, they are a brave person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Although-
5-in-1 that 5-in-3 army or 3-in-5 army. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I believe wasn't one of the top 8 at LVO took Angelic Inheritors?
No, he took Liberator, but he also took no Blood Angels units. It was all Space Marines units in a Blood Angels detachment, so that he got the plus on the wound.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That cheeky loophole.
Yeah. We got Deathwatch, Scotty's baby.
Mhm.
4 Black Spear Task Force, of course, doing very well. Just took out LVO too, I believe.
Yeah, they did. Came first LVO with Deathwatch, Black Spear Task Force. Oh, the year Deathwatch have had. Oh my gosh, I couldn't have told you.
Yeah, in what world? If you'd said 6 months ago when they didn't even exist anymore,
Yeah.
they were going to win LVO. Like,
Yeah. Nah, it's you poor Deathwatch players, Scotty. One of our vets is an avid Deathwatch player, and his are actually painted in Deathwatch, not all these other colours. So yeah.
Mad respect.
Space Wolves, we got 3 Champions of Rust. Interesting to see no Stormlance there. Black Templars, we got 1 Righteous and 1 Raffle Procession. Raven Guard, we've got 2 Vanguard. The Deputies Astartes, we've got 1 Gladius. For your Custodes, we've got 7 Solar Spearhead, 3 Shield Hosts, and 2 Talons of the Emperor. For Ashmilitarum, we've got 7 Combined Regiment and 4 Bridgehead Strike. It's very interesting. There's probably going to be a lot of Scions and Aquilons there on the weekend. For AdMech, we have 7 Halo Screed Battle Clade. Grey Knights, we have 5 of the Warpbane and 1 Teleport Strike Force. Imperial Knights, we've got all of them, all 6 Noble Lance, of course. Sisters, we've got 3 Hallowed Martyrs and 1 Penitent Host, and Imperial Agents have 2 Imperialist Fleet.
Yeah, so let's talk about this detachment breakdown a little bit, because it gives us a bit more context about every faction.
Yeah.
Looking at Marines, now across the board for Marines, Vanguard is the most taken detachment. As I believe it is sitting on... Oh, actually, yeah, it is sitting on 10 compared to Gladius that's sitting on 9. So very similar in terms of how much they're being taken. But I'm also not surprised that a lot of the Ultramarines went, we're going Vanguard Spearhead, we're going to go all the Ultramarine characters and do the thing. I mean, Brody Middleton took out Uprising last year with Ultramarines Vanguard. So
yeah, how is it still a thing? Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
like, it's even better now. I think personally, it's crazy, but it's even better.
Yeah, I think Brody was posting one of the Discords. I mean, it's like you spend 600 points on Gilliman and Calgar, and you put 1,400 points on whatever else you want, basically. Like, sure,
a lot of point and click.
Yeah, and double oath. In terms of Dark Angels, I find it really interesting that there's 2 Stormlances for Dark Angels. Particularly with some of the recent Ravenwing buffs, it's not too unsurprising, but at the same time, it's like, okay, something to note. Also a note from chat, Basil, I believe is how I pronounce this user's name. Jack Harpster did take Angelic Inheritors and finished top 4 at LVO. So,
yeah, I got corrected as well automatically. So
yeah.
All
yeah,
good.
I could have swore I listened to one of Tactical Tortoise's things today, and okay, cool, yeah, crazy.
But yeah, speaking of Blood Angels, 4 Liberator Assault groups, and I'm not 100% certain. There might be maybe one that didn't take any Blood Angels characters to get the +1 to wound. Don't quote me on it, as I only had a brief look, but there potentially might be one in there. To see 4 Deathwatch Black Spears is chef's kiss. To me, it's like, cool, there's some Deathwatch present. I'm happy. I play Deathwatch myself. I love them. They're great fun. So I'm happy to see them back and actually in attendance. As you already said, Jake, Champions Rust for Space Wolves is really interesting to see. That there is no Stormlance. So
yeah, I mean, Stormlance has been copping a bit of a hit with just the price hikes that Space Wolves have copped over the last year. I think the list that I was even running had gone up like maybe 350 points since the start of the year. So it's like, I guess Champions is, it's got a lot in its toolbox. I mean, you miss out on the events and charge, but it can be backed up with, you know, the extra hits and the 6-up feel no pains and the extra OC. And I mean, if you can start popping them off and having, you know, 2 or 3 of them active, it's pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. Black Templars, usually you see some more Black Templars. I think Black Templars were pretty big kind of 6 to 12 months ago, whereas now they've kind of fallen a little bit out of favor with only 1 Righteous Crusader and the new Wrathful Procession as well. Then there are 2 Mad Lads running Raven Guard, specifically have taken Caven Shrike. One being Josh Brody, though. Can't dismiss him. You know, he played on Team Australia. He knows what he's doing. And then, you know, one of the guys from Canberra who's in attendance, Andrew Martin, is running the Adeptus Astartes Gladius. No named characters, just straight up Marines. Old
just loves
school.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just loves it.
Jumping into the Imperium, Custodes is a really interesting spread. To see Solar Spearhead come to the forefront after, you know, everyone playing Shield Host predominantly is huge. I know players love playing just Custodes Dreads. I've seen it a number of times in previous editions, and so to see it come back, I'm sure a lot of Custodes fans, maybe they're just looking for a fresh way to play the army, but, you know, to see that back in action is pretty solid. But still good to see a couple of Shield Hosts and a couple of Talons in there as well, is probably the second favoured detachment for Custodes in the meta.
Yeah, quite a few small RTTs. I've noticed the Dreadies coming out. It's good. I love it.
Yeah. Then Ashmilitarum, I think it's a good spread between the two. You know, Adam had made a ruling about Ashmilitarum Codex not being legal until after the full release, which I fully agree with, by the way. I also think it's kind of ridiculous that they do the Codex in the army box and then they release it a month later. So frustrating.
Yeah. And it's frustrating for Guard in particular because they got done with this at the end of 9th edition as well. Like they had Codex in a box for 3+ months. It was just ridiculous. So the release schedule for GW is pretty piss poor at the moment, I must say. I'm not enjoying the way they're doing it.
Yep. I definitely agree, considering Eldaria are apparently going up for pre-order this weekend. It's like they're not even finished one full faction and they're releasing another.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Moving on, next up we've got AdMech, and all 7 players being Halo's Creed. Now, this could just be players being, like, they're finding their detachments to be a bit stale, like they're sick of playing ScottyD Hunter Cohort, and they're just like, Halo's Creed, let's play this because this looks, you know, new and exciting, but also there's power in it as well. There is some really good strength in that detachment that players can make use of. You see actually very similar with Grey Knights, where 5 out of the 6 players are on the new Warpbane task force compared to the old Teleport Strike, where there is one player who has not jumped across, still playing Teleport Strike, but to see some increased damage potential from Warpbane and seeing a few games of it so far on various streams, it does actually increase Grey Knight damage, which is really needed. And so I'm excited to see how that plays out over the weekend. Imperial Knights sticking with Noble Lance makes sense. Their Grotmus detachment isn't that great, so no surprises there. Adeptus Sororitas, another faction that has definitely fallen out of favor as of late after recent balance changes. So you're sitting on 3 Hallowed Martyrs, 1 Penitent Host. No Bringers of Flame is the interesting thing here. No Fast Gun Good, which isn't too surprising after recent points increases and the reduction of range, increase of stratagem costs, and things like that. And then 2 absolutely insane players who are like, I'm playing Imperialis Fleet Imperial Agents. Because I'm going for best in faction Imperial Agents.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, but overall, I think Space Marines Imperium is a really good spread. Do you have any thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, look, I think it's quite well spread out. I think it's pretty reflective of what we're expecting to see. I think Guard can be a little bit difficult because it's similar to Orcs. There are a lot of just hardcore Guard players out there. So that combined regiment and Bridgehead Strike isn't necessarily reflective of what's better. I think if it was just going to go purely on what was better, it would probably be inverse. I think combined regiment has been left behind a little bit with the Bridgehead Strike. So, yeah, look, I think it's pretty well par for course. It's good to see such a mix, and only one faction that's locked into total things being Adeptus Mechanicus. So,
yeah. All right, so let's.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the spread once the Guard book actually comes out with so many detachments. There's plenty in the toolbox there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, let's be real, they'll probably all be nerfed into the ground before they come out, but yeah, we'll see.
No, don't tell me that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure, see how Guard releases go. Same with Eldari as well when they drop. So let's jump into Chaos.
Yeah, so looking at the detachments for Chaos. So we've got Chaos Demons. We have 6 Legion of Excess, 2 Demonic Incursion, 2 Plague Legion, and 1 Scintillating Legion. I nearly couldn't read that just then, sorry. And Death Guard. I was like, am I saying this right? Death Guard, we've got all 8 on the Plague Company, of course. The CSM, we've got 5 Creations of Bile and 2 Renegade Raiders. World Eaters, we've got 5 on the Berserker Warband and 2 on the Vessels of Wrath. Chaos Knights, we've got 3 on the Traitorous Lance and 2 on the Iconoclast. And Thousand Suns, we've got 3 Cult of Magic.
This is really interesting to me. So,
yeah,
Chaos Demons, Legion of Excess is no surprise. That has really risen to the top for Chaos Demons now. To still see 2 Demonic Incursions, not too surprising there, because that is still quite a solid detachment. Plague Legion's an interesting one to see 2 of as well, and the Scintillating Legion is a very spicy take. With its dice mechanic where I just reroll, and then you get the dice. And then you can reroll and I get it back.
Super weird mechanic. Like, honestly, I was trying to read it the other day and I'm just like, I don't even know that I get this. Like, I feel like I need a degree just to figure out what's going on here.
Yep. It's wild. I had Alex the Greek explain it to me one time and I was like, oh, this is kind of wild. So I think...
very confusing. Very confusing.
I think you can get up to like 8 of those reroll dice by the end of the game. Like, it's insane.
It's just repackaged Miracle Dice, right? Like, it's a different version of Miracle Dice, but also giving it to your opponent, which is that's the weird part.
Yeah. And then if your opponent's got the dice, you gained a dice, and it's just.
And look. They can really capitalize on that too. Like, it's if you're giving your opponent that sort of leverage at the right time, it could really not work out for you.
Death Guard, still seeing them on Plague Company instead of... Now, let me just double check real quick here with Death Guard. I'm pretty sure Plague Company is just the index detachment. Not seeing anyone jumping on the new detachment is actually quite surprising. Yeah. So none of the Flyblown Host, which is the new detachment. So no one deciding that they want to do Scout 5 inches and Stealth on their Death Guard infantry.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I am surprised that there is a world where that could be horrible. But yeah, I guess everybody's just sticking to what they know with the Death Guard.
I think they're just so slow that even that just doesn't matter. Like if you're not going to get there, that 5 inches isn't going to make you get there. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos Space Marines, 5 Creations of Bile shows how strong Creations is. Like,
it's so good.
Yeah, I think I was watching War Games Lab in the weekend, and he had Creations of Bile player on one round and rolled up, I think it was, he rolled up Toughness and Strength, I believe it was, and then rerolled one of them into Ballistic Skill. And he was like, I can't use that, basically. But yeah, it's like you roll 2 random benefits, you get it army-wide, basically on infantry, I believe. I'm not sure if it's on anything outside of infantry. I haven't looked at it too much, so don't quote me on it. But, you know, also seeing 2 Renegades Raiders still. I mean, Fast Gun is good, so can't fault them there for the Renegade Raiders. You know, assault on your ranged weapons is always a solid take.
Yeah, the Bile I think is surprising. Like the detachment is good, but there's the potential that you just roll 2 bad things, reroll, and still get a bad thing, and it just puts you so far behind. So I'll be interested to see how they go over the weekend and what they can kind of do to mitigate that when they do roll bad, because it is going to happen. In 8 games, you are going to roll the crappiest 2 at least once. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just hope it's during the early rounds and not during the later rounds.
Yeah.
World Eaters has got 5 on your Index Detachment and Berserker Warband, and then 2 on the Vessels of Wrath, which is very 8-bound focused. So interesting to see a little bit of play in there. I'll be keen to see how those lists perform over the weekend. Then Chaos Knights, you got 3 in Traitorous Lance, and you know, you're 2 in Iconoclast, which is really interesting. So the Iconoclast one is where you basically use cultists as shields for your knights, and you can sacrifice them to gain wounds back and stop damage and all this kind of stuff. It's really wild. So I've had some friends locally test it out, and they haven't been too impressed by it. Just haven't found it do as well as possible, because they just go, oh, cool, you're going to use the screens to protect your knights, and they just kill the cultists first, and then once the cultist unit's dead near them with anti-infantry shooting, they shoot the anti-tank stuff at your knight.
Yeah.
And then still...
Yeah, I think Chaos Knights, I've been on Chaos Knights as far as a concept since the start of this edition. Since the start of Pariah Nexus, mainly because like so many of these missions are keyed towards having battle line, and every single unit being battle line, and every single unit being quite tough for the points that you're paying for it. I feel like they are ideally positioned, and the ability just to go through walls and whatnot. So I absolutely do not underestimate Chaos Knights in either form, and I think that there will be one in the top 10 somewhere, because I think that they have the legs, and with so many missions being benefited from battle line, having battle line everywhere is certainly good.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, just they're so points efficient when you run, say, like the 13 War Dogs. Like, it's just, I know firsthand versing Prince unit this weekend, which wasn't that fun, but it's definitely good at what it does.
Yeah,
for sure. And then 3 Cult of Magic for Thousand Suns. Not too surprising that there's no Grotmus detachment there, but you know, Cult of Magic is still pretty good. Thousand Suns still pretty strong in the meta, but they're starting to wane a little bit now, which is eventually what I think GW are aiming for, to bring them down a little bit in their power.
Yeah, well, they've copped a bit of nerf now, so but there's still a lot of players taking them, obviously.
For sure. And then let's jump into the last like big super faction, which is all the Xenos stuff. So we've got Eldari, Hivemind, and Xenos all on the one slide for you guys.
Yeah, so kick it off. We got Eldari with all 6 Eldari going battle host, which isn't surprising. The 2 Drukhari players are still on the Sky Splinter Assault. Tyranids, bit of a spread. We've got the 4 Invasion Fleet, 2 Crusher Stampede, 1 Assimilation, 1 Synaptic, and 1 Vanguard Onslaught. GSC, we got 3 on the Biosanctic, 1 on the final day, which I believe is the Grotmus one detachment, is it? Yeah. And 1 on the Outlander Claw. With Orcs, we've got 5 on the Tactical Brigade, 3 on the Bully Boys, 3 on Dreadmob, and 1 on Cult of Speed, which I think personally is a really fun one, the Cult of Speed. It's good. You really got to know what you're doing, though. Necrons, no surprise to see 7 of them on the Star Shatter. 1 on Awakened, 1 on Canoptic, and 1 on Hypercrypt. Votan, all 7 on the Oathbound, and Tau, we got a little bit of a spread with 3 on the Auxiliary, 2 on the Retaliation Cater, and 1 on the Kaon.
Yeah, really good spread across all of these Xenos detachments. I mean, the Eldari are not surprising to stick with Battle Host. Their Grotmus detachment was very vehicle heavy, and I think Battle Host serves them a lot better. Just in general play, Drukhari, I mean, you know, yes, we did see Skari get in the top 8 at LVO with his Drukhari list, but it just shows that there is such a skill difference when it comes to Drukhari. Like, your strong skill players are still on Drukhari. If you aren't necessarily a strong player skill with them, it is a bit of a hard army. They are very much glass cannon. So it can be you need a very, tactical and technical mind to pilot them well. In terms of Tyranids, 4 Invasion Fleet is not too surprising. Invasion Fleet is a very generalist detachment, so it's really solid into a lot of the things in the meta at the moment. It's, funnily enough, good into Star Shatter that's probably running a fair amount of vehicles. So you can get, I think it's lethal hits into vehicles. If you're going in infantry, you get sustained hits 1. Things like that. It's really solid there. Seeing 2 Crusher Stampede, though, is really interesting. Then 1 Assimilation Swarm. Assimilation Swarm did just recently get some buffs, and it's actually a fair amount more playable now than what it was previously. You've got 1 Synaptic Nexus, which has always been a pretty solid choice, same as Vanguard Onslaught as well. In terms of Gene Stealer Cults, you've got 3 on Brood Surge, which is basically I think, if I'm going to quote Jake from Vanguard Tactics here, the Muscle Beach detachment for GSC. Then you've got Final Day, which is your GSC with Tyranids in the detachment, and there's some synergy there between both, the Tyranid side and the Gene Stealer Cult side in that detachment, and then 1 Outlander Claw. So then we have got, for Orcs, Tactical Brigade. Not too surprised here that there's been a massive surge towards that. It seems quite strong, and, to give something, that's probably potentially on par with stuff like Bully Boys and Dreadmop in terms of its power is really good, potentially maybe even better. So we'll see how that one goes on the weekend. That's a detachment I'm keeping my eye on. Bully Boys and Dreadmob still being up there, really solid detachments as well. I think maybe one player is bringing a Stomper as well, which is kind of insane. Knowing the damage that a Stomper can do, seeing it on stream firsthand, and facing it firsthand as well, it is not to be underestimated.
Hang on, last I checked, Ben wasn't going to Uprising, was he? Or...
No, I think maybe one of the South Australian guys is running a Stomper, potentially, Adam.
Yeah, good. I love it.
I reckon it's a Victorian, in fact.
Okay. Alrighty. Good to know. Then Necrons, not surprising there that we got Star Shatter on 7, despite the nerfs that it copped. Despite the changes that they copped.
I think it was a bit of a flame out too, right? Like, it just hasn't done what, like, even before, you just weren't seeing that it was like ruling the world. When people saw it drop, it was like talk that it was the best detachment that was ever made and whatnot. And it didn't really materialize, copped nerfs, and I still think that it's probably not gonna like top the world. So
Yep. But to still, you've got the other three more common Necron detachments in Awakened Legion, Canoptic Court, and Hypercrypt. Despite Hypercrypt coughing even more nerfs, still being played as well. So yeah, pretty good to see still that Awakened Legion is still kicking around, which is nice. Oathband for Leagues of Votann, not surprising. Basically, if you were to play the Grotmus detachment, you're playing with half of your data sheets that get the rules, so Oathband's just strictly better because you get the benefits across your entire army. For Tau, though, seeing the auxiliary cadre come in above the others is quite interesting to me, because it allows you to do something that a lot of Tau players think they should have been able to do in the Codex to begin with, which is giving your auxiliary units for the greater good so they can actually be spotter units for your Tau units.
No, it is good.
And then Retaliation Cadre actually got a little bit of a buff. They actually changed one of their strats to, instead of being 6 inches for the shooting, to 9 inches because of the 6-inch deep strike change. So it was good that they fixed that up. And then 1 Kauyon, pretty staple, the index detachment. So, any other thoughts on the detachments, gentlemen, for the Xenos?
No, not really.
I think it's interesting. I think the main thing that's interesting to come out of it is the Grotmus detachments. They just add such an element of the unknown. And for those factions that kind of missed out, I guess, so you're looking at Eldar, your Drukhari, Votann, where their detachments were just a complete miss. It feels a little bit bad because it feels like they're getting left in the dust a little bit. I know Eldar is still in the naughty corner, and even with the Codex, they're probably still going to be in the naughty corner for the remainder of the edition. But it is a bit rough to not really have the ability to do things and have some viability in the new stuff. So Votann in particular, I remember looking at the detachment and thinking, okay, but how do you get your tokens onto people? Because you need those tokens, and without being able to place any, you're screwed. So
yeah, for sure. And then Beals just corrected me in chat. The change to Rec Cadre was the detachment rule, not the stratagem. So I'll just correct that for the record.
That's all right. We're all learning.
Yeah.
What does Tau even do anyway? It's kind of like GSC.
Yeah. So I reckon, having covered all the detachments and everything, really stable field, really spread out field, which is nice. Let's jump into talking about some of the lists that are in attendance this weekend, gentlemen. So if I can get this up working. We've gone through and we have picked... Well, I've gone through. I had a look earlier today before the 2024 ITC rankings got pulled down on BCP, and I found kind of a player in attendance that was kind of sitting around that top 5 for their state. So we've got one person from New South Wales, ACT, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and WA. The one person I will note that is also in attendance is from New Zealand, which is Finn Decker, is also in attendance from New Zealand. But of course, you've got a whole host of really solid players that have played on various state rep teams for the ANZTC. You've got Team Australia reps playing as well. You got guys like Matt Morrisoli, Lachlan Rigg, also Dean Singbeck, Cal German, just so many.
Yeah, definitely. Probably other notable ones are Greg McGinty, definitely Jordan McGregor, but I'd assume he's one of your lists that you picked there, definitely.
His list is currently up on screen. So Jordan actually took out the South Pacific ITC Championships for 2024-25. And I think this will actually be the right time to mention this, Adam. So Uprising is being, or hoping to be included in the 25-26 season, is my understanding.
Yeah, so I don't have a token because they don't have tokens yet, but I've spoken to Zach, and Zach has said that it's good to upload it afterwards once they get their shit sorted for 25. But yeah, with the permanent move of LVO earlier in January, it's just not available for us to run an event on Australia Day weekend and have it included into the previous year's ITC on an ongoing basis. They made an exception for us last year. We did it. This year, that exception wasn't available. So it is what it is. It just means that we are the largest event at the beginning of the season instead of the largest event at the end of the season. So not ideal, but we make the best of it. So
yep, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. All right.
One last notable player I just want to selflessly plug in there is George Sumner Johnston. He's one of our vets who's actually moved over to South Australia now, so he's going to be one of the local guys for you guys over there. But he, I'm pretty sure, took out top Chaos Demons. So
yeah, and he's running a Slanesh list as well, so it'll be to be reckoned with.
It's a bunch of bullshit. It is horrible.
So on that note, let's jump into talking about Jordan McGregor's list from New South Wales. He is running an Imperial Knights Noble Lance. He has got Canis Rex in there as his character. Then we've got for battle line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Helverins. All with just the heavy stubbers. And then there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Warglaives with the thermal spears and melter guns. In terms of allied units, he's also taken a Ministorium Priest that is the Warlord. And also a second Ministorium Priest. And then a Sisters Battle Immolator with the Heavy Bolter and Flamers there as well. So what's that? That's 10 War Dogs, some Action Monkeys in the Ministorium Priests, and then Canis Rex.
Yeah, it's very well teched and obviously very well used, as Jordan shows.
Does the Ministorium Priest have the right keyword to go into the Immolator?
Yeah, so there was talk about this the other day because it has the... It does. It definitely has the right keyword.
It's a nice bit of tech. The Immolator is a very good ad. So without having to pay the ridiculous price attached to the sisters that go in it, it's a nice little piece of tech. So I may steal that idea at some point.
Yeah, so just checking for you guys. So just looking at the keywords for those. If I have a look... yeah, Auto Hereticus. This is about Immolator, Transport. It is Auto Hereticus. So, Ministorium Priest is Auto Hereticus. So, yeah, it can jump in there. Does have the keyword.
Nice.
So, yeah, really solid list. It's a bit of a not necessarily a deviation, but it's an improvement upon his list that he used at Gonghammer, the tournament I ran recently, and did quite well at that one. As well as, I believe he ran this list probably at Exterminatus recently too. So, and did take that tournament out as well. So, really going to be interested to see how he goes with this list on the weekend. But yeah, lots of battle line, lots of action monkeys to do things. Pretty solid. Then
and they're just so efficient for what they do for the points cost. It's crazy.
100% agree. Then we jump into Rowan Kennant from the ACT. He's running Tyrannid Vanguard Onslaught. So exact same detachment that he ran last year when he came second at Uprising.
Yeah.
So Rowan is a faction specialist for Tyrannids. He only plays Tyrannids. So he's basically got everything for Tyrannids, I believe. So it's good to see him sticking out with the same detachment once again, even though I've heard from the ACT guys been jumping around a little bit on the different detachments, seeing what's best. So he is running Death Leaper, He's got a Neuro Tyrant, his Warlord with Hunting Grounds, Winged Hive Tyrant, kitted for combat with Chameleonic enhancement, and then 2 Winged Warrior Primes. 2 use of 10 Gargoyles, Biovore, single Exocrine, 5 Gene Stealers, single Lictor, double Morlock, Neuro Lictor, 3 Raveners, and then 2 units of 6 warriors with bioweapons, with melee bioweapons, I should say. And then we've got 6 Zoanthropes as well in there. So really interesting list. Got some snakes in there, which Alex the Greek in New South Wales has been making a name for them in terms of the Morlocks and the Raveners and such. But I really like this list looking at it. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, no, it's very good. I mean, Roll knows his Tyranid stuff, right? So it just gets in and gets clapping, really, that list. It's, very well tacked.
Yep. Any thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Zoanthrope blob always does the heavy lifting when it comes to the anti-tank there for shooting. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll do what he did with it last year. And he was a bit of a dark horse for us last year. We didn't really expect what we got out of him. So this year we'll definitely be watching. So hopefully he can repeat what he did last year with it. So
yeah, definitely. Rowan's someone that I'm keeping my eye on, and we may have something special lined up for round 1 at the tournament as well. So I'll leave that hanging for you guys in chat to make of it what you will. Next,
he's going to do a shimmy on the stream, guys. That's what it's going to be.
Maybe not that far. Next up, we've got Reese Cunningham from Victoria. He is running an Ashmilitarum at Bridgehead Strike. So he's got a Death Corps of Krieg Marshal. He's got Gaunt's Ghosts in there. Militarum, I believe that is 2 Militarum, 3 Militarum Tempestus Command Squads. They've got Melter Gun, Plasma Gun, Volley Gun, Grenade Launcher, and then Plasma Pistol and Dagger. One has got the Bombast class Vox Array enhancement. Then Slime Marbo, Tank Commander in there with the Demolisher, Las Cannon, Double Melter, Ursula Creed in there as well. In terms of battle line, a unit of 10 Cadians with Melter Gun, Plasma Gun, Vox. Unit of 20 Death Corps with 2 Melter Guns, 2 Plasma Guns, and 2 Grenade Launchers with the Medipack in there. So, feel no pain, because why not on a 20-man unit? 10, I believe it is 1, 2, 3, 4 units of 10 Scions with Double Melter, Double Plasma, and Power Fists on the Tempestors in there as well. 2 Tauruxes with the twin autocannons, and then 2 units of 10 Karsakan with the Melter Mines, Double Melter Gun, Double Plasma Gun, and Vox Casters, 1 Marksman Rifle in each as well, and then 2 units of 10 Aquilons, I should say, with the Sentry Flamers, Plasma Carbine, the Gunfighter that's got the double pistol, I believe, and 1 Las Carbine. So, 2 of the units that copped a 20-point increase and caused the 3-inch deep strike nerf.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. I think the list potentially would have been better without the tank commander. I feel like it's a little bit out of place. I'm sure Reese has got a plan for it, but I think the tank commander might be a bit of a hindrance in some instances. But I tell you what, it's a real drug. Those 15-man Scion squads with double orders, getting full rerolls to hit, getting +1 strength, +1 AP. They do some work. They do some real heavy work. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I would have liked to see a Taurox Prime in there just adding full rerolls to wound because, why not?
It's a bit expensive, I suppose, for the extra. Well, I mean, it pays for itself, really. The reroll wounds is just great. I'm thinking he's going to have the Kassakan, the 2 Kassakan blobs in both Tauroxes, though, because it's just the standard Tauroxes. Yeah. And well, personally, I would think the tank commander, since it can give 2 orders in the hours, just to give move to maybe both the Tauroxes. Don't know.
Expensive one trick pony there.
It is. It is. But I suppose if you want to get them casking up the board and humming, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on the tank commander, maybe you could have gone with dropping the tank commander, maybe putting in Lord Soliontis instead. He can still give out the that's right.
No,
he
he can't.
changed.
Yeah, he can't anymore.
He
Yeah.
changed.
Not in this detachment. The big thing with this detachment is you lose the ability to make the Scions battle line if you don't have a Scion as your warlord. So, and Leontis has to be the warlord. So I looked at him because I was like, oh, he gives you the CP economy, but as soon as you add him in, it just screws this list. So you can't run him. So
yeah. That's probably why Ursula Creed's being run instead potentially.
Well, I think she gives out 3 orders now. So
she's also got this weird little interaction where she makes your stratagem free, and then if the unit has a Voxcaster, you roll the dice, and then on a 4+ you get this, you gain a CP. So you can feasibly be getting effectively 2 CP every turn, which is quite a nice little trick. So
yeah. Plus the unit she's in, can be affected by 2 orders at once, which is really nice. For those buffs. So cool. So it'll be again really interesting to see. I mean, Reese played on Team Australia, so he knows what he's more than likely doing.
He has daggers on his command squads.
Yes.
I wonder if that is an error.
Ooh.
That must surely be an error. I might reach out to him and double check because daggers are definitely not the way to go.
You probably want the rod of command, right?
Yeah, you want the rod for the double orders, so you can go +1 to your rapid fire and then +1 to hit.
Oh god.
Oop.
Yeah. I'd say that might be a copy and paste.
Yeah, quite possibly. But all right. Moving on.
Good pick up.
Yeah. Next up, we are looking at Tyler Walsh, who is from Tasmania, who is running the Necron Awakened Dynasty list. So he's got Illuminor Caesaris as his warlord, Imhotep the Stormlord in there with 1 CP guaranteed every one of your command phases. Really solid. 2 Hexmark Destroyers, Locust Lord with a Veil of Darkness. I know exactly what another unit's going to be in this list already. A Plasmancer, which is really solid for critical hits on 5s. Scorpec Lord with the Enigmatic Dermal Bond. Really weird one. I think that one is... from memory, it's either a Feel No Pain or it is a damage reduction. Off the top of my head, I'll pull it up on the app when I've got a second here. Then he has got 2 other Scorpec Lords and a Technomancer with the Netherrealm Casket. Unit of 10 Immortals, 2 units of 5 Flayed Ones, 3 units of 3 Scorpec Destroyers, a single Low-Curse Destroyer, a unit of 3 Heavy Destroyers. That is where the Low-Curse Lord is going with the Veil. 6 Wraiths, which is where the Technomancer's going, and a Canoptic Reanimator. That is a really straightforward Necron detachment and leans into basically everything that Necrons do. What are your thoughts, Jake, on this one?
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite different, I guess, to some of what we've seen. In ways, it hits very hard when it does.
So those enhancements, the Netherrealm Casket is stealth whilst the model's leading a unit, so that unit gains stealth, and the Dermal Bond is a Feel No Pain 4-up. So
for the unit or for the model?
Model.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I was gonna
that's
say,
yeah, not for the unit because it's only 15 points. So just the model. But the Scorpic Lord's like T6 or T7 with 6 wounds. Like he's tough. So yeah, no, a Scorpic Lord in each of the Scorpic Destroyer units. Scorpic Destroyer units are just delivery units for the Scorpic Lords because they're the ones that really do the damage. The flayed ones are for infiltrating, for screening out, it's really solid. You've got the Plasmans to go into the Immortals to give them critical hits on 5s, which is really important with their lethals. For their 10 shots. Not 10 shots, I think it's 20 shots, quite possibly, but they're quite good value. Single Locust Lord's good for like behind enemy lines, secondaries, stuff like that. The 3 with the Amanic Exterminators. This is the anti-infantry, strength 6, 1 shot. Sorry, not 1 shot, minus 1 AP, 1 damage. But I believe they're like sustained hits 3 or something like that. So having the Lord in there to give them crits on 5s is quite nice. Is it crits on 5s? I'm trying to remember now. I'm a Necron player, and I should know this stuff, for crying out loud. Let me find the Locust Lord. Where are we? Locust Lord, abilities. Yeah, he gives his unit crits on 5s.
Crits on 5s. Yeah.
So, yeah. Which is really solid. And then the Wraiths in there, really solid combat unit. That's probably your mid-board threat. And you have the Scorpex as your reactive, like, counter-assault units if someone goes to engage the Canoptic Wraiths. So you just go, have a Scorpec Lord, try and deal with it. As well. And then the Reanimator to sit on your home, really cheap, and can also help king things alive during turn 1. So yeah, really interesting list. Very different to what you see in the Necron meta. I'd be keen to see how this goes.
Yeah, not going with the Sky Shutters is different, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we've got Peter Hatcliffe from South Australia. He is running Genestealer Cult's Final Day. So this is the Tyrannid and GSC detachment. So he has got a Death Leaper. He's got a Benefictus there with Inhuman Integration. Claimus, Calmavis, I should say. Parasite and Mortex. He's got a Patriarch in there as the Warlord with Enraptured Damnation. And a Reductus Saboteur. 1 unit of 5 Acolyte Hybrids with Auto Pistols. 2 units of 5 Acolyte Hybrids with Hand Flamers, with only 4 Hand Flamers per unit, with a Cult Icon in there as well. 4 units of 10 Gargoyles, and a single unit of 20 Neophyte Hybrids with 2 Grenade Launchers, 2 Flamers, 2 Seismic Cannons, 2 Mining Lasers, the usual. 10 Hybrid Metamorphs with the Hand Flamers, and the Cult Icon, a unit of 10 Pure Strain Gene Sealers and 2 units of 5 Pure Strains, unit of 3 Raveners, and then 2 units of 1 Achilles Ridge Runner, 1 with Survey Augur, 1 with Spotter, both with Heavy Mortars, and then a unit of 2 Ridge Runners with Spotters and Heavy Mining Lasers.
Holy MSU.
Yeah. And this thing does so well at the board control, especially with the gargoyles. They spread out, they screen, they're the shoot and scoot ones, right? So
yes, they are.
They shoot and then move even further out to block you, and then they just keep throwing units at you. And I find when I've played this, I've played it a couple of times now, and I know Tyler Vizza has been running it, which he's been doing really well with. And I find that you feel like you're killing everything into round 3. You've nearly got there, but then they start to decide to use the points to put stuff into reserve, and by about turn 4, they're putting more and more units back on the board that you just didn't think was possible.
Yeah. If you notice at the top of his list as well, he's got a little YouTube link, and it goes to a scene from Thor Ragnarok where old mate walks across and he's like, "Behold my stuff," and it's just a pile of junk.
That's great.
That is hilarious. But yeah, no, definitely, it's MSU out the wazoo. It's got decent amount of shooting in the hand flamers and the anti-tank weapons as well that are kicking around the joint. And yeah, as you said, Jake, like being able to bring back a lot of units is, yeah, late game, really, really helpful.
Yeah, well, now that the game mechanic of GSC isn't so swingy with the point system, you can plan your game around it, and know that, you know, when you lose specific units, all right, well, they're the ones that I'm going to bring back. Then I'm going to bring them here, and yeah, it helps, I think, a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last list we are going to look at is Callum German from WA, and he's running Deathwatch Black Spear Task Force. Oh, woo, baby. Okay, so he's got a Gravis Captain as his Warlord with Power Fist, Chainsword with Thief of Secrets. So that's +1 strength, AP, and damage. Librarian in Phobos Armor. Lieutenant in Phobos Armor with Beacon Angelus. So that's your Deep Strike and then Rapid Ingress for free. And then Lieutenant with Combi Weapon as well. He's got a single unit of 5 Deathwatch Vets, Xenophase Blade and Shield, another Shield in there, 2 Hammers and 1 Black Shield Blades. He's then got a unit of 5 Intercessors with a Power Fist on the Sergeant, 2 units of 5 Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs with Power Fist, Hand Flamer, and Plasma Pistol. 6 Devastated Centurions with Twin Las Cannons and Missile Launchers. An Indomitor Kill Team with 2 Heavy Bolters, 3 Aggressors with the Auto Bolt Storm and the Frag Storm Grenade Launchers, and then 3 Eradicators with 2 Melter Rifles and 1 Multi-Melter in there. Make that 2 of those units. A unit of 5 Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlet Comms Array, and then a Spectrus Kill Team that has got, I believe it is going to be, it's got 1 Sniper Rifle, it has got 4 Oculus Bolt Carbines in there, so that's 4 Incursors, few Infiltrators. Yeah, that's really interesting. Does he have the Feel No Pain on the unit? No, he does have the Feel No Pain. He's got the Helix Gauntlet in there, so he's got a few Infiltrators. And then a Calidus Assassin. So this is a really interesting list. So he's got the Deep Strike on the Spectrus Kill Team to be able, because Spectrus Kill Team can be picked up at the end of your opponent's turn for the Data Sheet ability. Deep Striking them in wherever you need them is a solid choice. I believe they also have the potential debuffs, but they also infiltrate and scout 6 inches. So it's a really big unit to screen in the midfield as well, and then scout to where you need them to be as well. You infiltrators for clearing your backfield.
Can a librarian join that unit, or can he only join the infiltrator unit?
So anything that can join, I'll have a quick look. Generally, it's
anything Phobos, anything with the Phobos keyword.
Potentially, let me have a quick look at the wording on that kill team, because generally it'll be like you can any character, like for Deathwatch veterans or Fortis kill teams, for example, anything that can join Sternguard can join this unit. That's the kind of wording. So if I go attach unit, so yeah, anything that can join an infiltrator squad can join this unit.
Oof, so that unit can have loan op at 12 inches because of the librarian, because the librarian carries the loan op. Wow.
Yes.
Yep, okay.
So he does have the choice. So he can either do the loan op or he can do the deep striking with the Phobos Lieutenant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he wanted to do both, he could have put the beacon onto the librarian, and that just would have been a right and proper pain.
Look, the librarian sitting with the 5-man infiltrator squad still blocks out such a huge chunk of the field that you just can't interact with if you're a deep strike army.
Yeah.
But having the ability to pop that onto a 10-man unit that can actually do things as well is pretty nasty. So
yeah, 100% agree.
It's hilarious, really.
Yeah, I'm somewhat so. there's been some clarification around mission tactics that it's not army-wide. It's only units that have the mission tactics faction ability, which means in this force, it's only the Deathwatch veterans. It is both Indomitor kill teams and the Spectrus kill team that get the benefit. So it's 4 units, basically, that are able to get sustained hits 1, lethal hits, or precision army-wide during the game. So, I mean, I understand it by taking the Centurions to teleport them and stuff as well. The JPIs to do your Action Monkey stuff, deep strike them in where you need to, things like that. So it's an interesting list. You know, the Intercessors for Sticky as well is really solid and their additional output. But yeah, I'd be you know, interested to see how this one performs compared to some of the different builds that are out there, particularly the build that won LVO.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to make note of his comment at the top of his list that's because my army is different colours, it's Deathwatch.
That's fair.
Classic. Love it.
See, I had the opposite problem. I painted a Deathwatch army back before the Deathwatch Codex existed so that I could use it as whatever army I wanted when the meta was good at that army. And then the Deathwatch Codex came out and just shat on that whole idea. And I was like, ah.
Yep, that's fair.
Look, Marines be Marines. I reckon paint them any way you want.
Yep, 100%.
Look, there's probably a lot of people in the chat that'll disagree with me there, but
yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So, gentlemen, if we were to pick a faction to take out Uprising this year, what would it be? I'll start with Jake.
Look, I'm gonna say probably Guard. Probably
Okay.
Ashmilitarum. Yep, I'm gonna go bit right hand, but yeah, I mean, if anybody uses that bridgehead at the moment, it's good. It can be good. I want to go against everybody else because it's probably going to say Marines. So.
All right, Adam, what's your pick?
Look, I want to say Demons, but I'm concerned that the meta has pivoted so hard so quickly to mass anti-infantry that they could be in a bit of trouble. But I'll go Demons. I'll make the long ball call and I'll go Demons.
Okay.
Woo.
Okay. I'm actually gonna
What
go.
about you, Scotty?
I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna back Tyranids. I reckon Rowan might have the gas to do it.
Okay.
I reckon he
Very
might
good.
have the gas. So I'll pick Tyranids for this one. I'll go against my Deathwatch, my Deathwatch instincts, and pick a Xenos. But yeah, no, I reckon Tyranids are in a decent spot. They've got some reactives. They've particularly that Rowan's Vanguard list is just solid. It's got a lot of the tools that you'd expect from Nids at the moment as well. So it might be a bit of an off-meta pick, but when you account for player skill, I definitely think with some of the players that are on Tyranids, definitely some strength in there at the moment.
I have confirmation from Reese that it was not a list error, and he in fact wanted the extra plasma pistols, so gave up the rods for the plasma pistols.
Okay. Cool. Good to know.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Adam, is there any final shout-outs that you want to make before we wrap up this evening?
Not really. The only thing I'd like to shout out is just our sponsor, as always, Dragon's Lair St. Mary's. The guys give us some really good deals on the vouchers that we put out, and that allows us to offer the kind of ridiculous price support that we do. And without them, the event wouldn't quite be the same. They'll have a stall at the event if you need to pick up anything that you are particularly craving at the time. Feel free to pop over and grab it from them. Otherwise, that's all from us, and we're ready for another year of going at it. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out this evening, gentlemen. Really appreciate it ahead of the tournament. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in chat as well. It's been absolutely awesome to be able to present all the info for Uprising to you guys once again. For those who are wanting to catch the coverage live, aiming to have it on both Twitch and YouTube this year, on both platforms. But if we can only do the one, it will be over on YouTube. So you'll be able to catch that coverage either here or over on the Australia Tabletop Wargaming Network's YouTube channel, or the links I'm going to throw into chat for you guys now as well. And if you did jump into the preview stream halfway through, don't fret. This is going to be going up on our YouTube channel Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, so you don't have to wait too long to watch it back either. But ladies and gentlemen, from us here at the ATWN and for Adam as well, that is going to be us for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we hope to catch you this weekend for the Uprising Adelaide 2025 tournament coverage. Hope to see you then, team.
See you later.
See ya.